Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Jones, and you are watching Let's Talk. Schools closed out last year in the USA and abroad with students engaged in online classes due to coronavirus. And now many school districts have started the school year in the same state. How are teachers coping? In this all-new episode, Ronnie Reddick, veteran middle school teacher, talks about how teachers are coping with our new normal in our public schools. Welcome, Mr. Reddick.
Dr. Mike Jones, good to see you.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you. Let's get right on it. First question I have for you is, how are you currently teaching students in your classes?
My school district has actually, up until a couple weeks before school started, so in our state, the governor gave some options. We had ABC choice, and then he gave schools the ability to choose B or C, partial virtual and in-person or full virtual. School board went with what's called a B plus plan. So I was very impressed and grateful that they thought outside the box instead of just the choices that were given, and tried to do what was best for everybody. But within a week of hearing feedback from teachers and parents and continue bad COVID results, we are in C, which is full virtual learning.
Full virtual learning. And what platforms are you using there? I know many people are using different platforms.
Yeah, so one thing we definitely wanted to do this year to cause less anxiety for students and families is to try to make everything as consistent as possible. So all of our teachers are now using a Canvas platform. So students are going in through Canvas. And for the most part, we are doing synchronous and asynchronous learning.
Hmm.
And pretty much all of the teachers are using Zoom synchronous teaching part, and then using Canvas as the learning platform.
Very good. Interesting. So, with the asynchronous versus synchronous learning, what are the guidelines surrounding attendance and participation for students? Because I know the opportunity is different for many people based on their particular circumstances at home.
Absolutely. So last March when we went in, of course, it took everybody off guard, and people were using what was comfortable for them, and the school system was being lenient with that because, everything was new and everybody was stressed out. So, there were teachers doing various things, using Google Classrooms, using Canvas, whatever they were comfortable and knowledgeable about. And so we were actually, to reduce stress for families and teachers, we were all providing like 2 hours worth of content per content area for teacher. This year does look totally different. Although we're still virtual learning, we are actually going full school schedule. So students are on their computers as soon as the bell would ring at school, and they're on it almost until the end of the day. What we ask each teacher has a 1 hour block, and they're asked to provide a half an hour of that block synchronous and a half an hour asynchronous. So we actually see them person to person, and then we also give them time to take breaks and to complete work, extend their learning outside of that time. And we actually even start every single day with what is called SEL. Stands for social and emotional learning. It is essentially, I'm a middle school teacher through and through. The school I teach at is middle school through and through. We believe in whole child. And so it's generally what we used to call, and it's just, where we bond with students. They have a faculty member that they can go to and trust, and we talk about things that matter in their development as adolescents.
Excellent. And I think that's so important, especially in light of this pandemic and many of the issues that families and students are facing, social, emotional issues, I should say. So I'm really happy to hear that you and your school district are engaged in that process. So what has been the greatest challenge you see with switching from in-class instruction to online instruction?
Absolutely. So, I can only speak for me, and I do kind of, try to get a pulse and stay on social media and read the newspaper and see how it's going for everybody else, because we want to live and learn through everybody else as well, and pick up good tips and see what else is going on. I'm in tune with my faculty. I would probably say, going back to that SEL class, even for the adults, we talk a lot about the kids and we talk about their families. And unfortunately, I don't think people are talking a lot about teachers. And, we're expected to keep things together for the kids. And it's almost an assumption that we have things together.
Exactly.
We need to. So, I mean, there's been a lot of shifts, shifts to, and I've been teaching for 27 years. So you're talking to a guy who used to use chalkboards, right? Used to have a film projector where I would actually load the film into reels on the projector.
Yes,
So,
sir.
I mean, to learn Canvas, to learn Google, to learn Zoom, for an old guy like me, I mean, that's definitely it. But it's really all about, the biggest adjustment is coping with the whole situation, because at the same time we're coping with changes in technology and trying to meet the needs of families, we're also still going home and dealing with, how does this virus affect me personally, how is it affecting my family,
Sure.
how is it affecting income, and how's it affecting my community. So I still think the biggest challenge is for us to have a proper mental health.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I too share the same concern. Hence the title of this time that we're talking together. How are teachers coping? Because I kind of hear teachers saying, "What about us?" As you said earlier, the focus, I think, so often is on the kids and what they need. But if teachers are not healthy, as you said, socially, emotionally, and mentally and physically, certainly in light of the pandemic, then they're not going to be effective at delivering that instruction that the students
Absolutely.
need, at the highest level of quality and excellence. So I want to ask you, do you feel passionate as you did before, teaching virtually as opposed to actually being up close and personal with your students, being able to touch them, hear them breathing, all the things that come with middle
Right.
school life?
Yeah. And you're talking to a passionate teacher,
Of course,
and
I
I
know.
think, I think two things that teachers have to have. The two key words of a good educator is passion and relationships. And to be honest with you, I say that it's almost impossible to have the same passion, because we just don't have the same relationships. Like, starting school through Zoom, and I'm a touchy-feely person. So, I give hugs to my kids. You can't be in a class and then pull them outside to talk to them. You can't really see if they're hurting, because a lot of even come on camera when they come in class. And I just started school this week. So you're asking me questions that I've got, 4 days of experience with, but it's definitely not the same. But all of that to say, when I got in that classroom and I saw kids, that was the best part of everything that's happened to me the last couple of weeks. It's been so stressful preparing and going through all these new protocols and being inundated by the stuff that the system has put on us. And then just the general feeling of, what is it going to be like? But when those kids showed up, Dr. Mike, I was so excited. And I'm sitting here screaming in the camera, and I'm like, you guys got to do this. And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. And it made me feel good, because that's what I go for. Like, I put on that mask when I get in front of kids, and I capture their attention. And if it's on a small screen, we're going to make it happen.
That's awesome. And that's what it's all about, right? The impact that we have as teachers and leaders on students, because, that's what they need. They need positive role models and people like yourself who are going to energize them, inspire them, and motivate them to be better individuals for our society. So I appreciate everything you've said so far. And perhaps there are other teachers like yourself and myself who are listening to us now, and they're learning how to cope with many of the dynamics that you've already mentioned, Mr. Reddick. And so tell these teachers who are listening, what's the best advice you can give them in this new normal of teaching online with COVID-19 and education? What's the best advice you can give them?
Best advice, I mean, without a doubt, number one has to be self-help. Self-health. Like you just got to take care of yourself. Be sure you're taking care of yourself. If you're not taking care of yourself mentally, physically, socially, you are going to be worthless to everybody else. As Stephen Covey would tell you, put first things first.
Yes.
You've got to prioritize. I sent an email. I got an email today, and I'm so thankful for my administration. They, first week down, they're like, what's too positive? What's too negatives? And, one of the negatives I put is I'm getting overwhelmed by emails already, and I feel bad that I'm not responding to personal emails because now I'm getting student and family emails. But for me, that's putting first things first. If I have to prioritize getting through so many emails in a day, school has started, and I'm going to take care of my kids, and I'm going to take care of the families of those kids. And, you got to prioritize things because you're just not getting everything done in a day. And, you got to get rest, you got to eat right. But also, you need to read Who Moved the Cheese. Like, you got to prepare for change.
Yes.
We cannot be anti-change. We can't act like this is the way it's always going to be. And we've also got to grab something in our lives that give us faith and hope, because I truly believe it's going to get better. Day one, if we would have had this interview, I probably would have thrown at a whole bunch of stuff with you because you asked about what platform we're using. So we get in there 8:30 in the morning, day one, Canvas crashes. And of course it crashes because 1 million people logged on at the
That's
same
right.
time, all of a sudden when nobody was using it. The system crashed, everybody panicked, kids couldn't get in, parents were panicking, but every day has gotten better. And I just believe that that's going to be it going forward. I think next week, every day is going to get better. Things are going to slow down. We've got to get to a place where we allow things to slow down and put first things first, and things are going to be okay. So definitely take care of yourself and do something that is going to develop your faith and your hope, because at the end, that's all we have, and things are going to get better. Things are going to get better.
Outstanding, Mr. Reddick. And certainly I'm sure your parents and students feel the same energy that I'm experiencing just talking with you. And I'm sure they're going to be pleased with this school year. And it's going to be a great year. I wish you continued health and prosperity, and for you and your family and your children. And hopefully we'll get a chance to follow up at the end of the school year just to see how things are going.
Absolutely. And I thank you and for everything you do, and to have this platform for people to see and experience and process. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Take care. Salute to you.
Reporting for duty.
Yes. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more educational news, exclusive interviews, and more.